may ginpost lang nga pinula lang mo. Why man ma-plastar kundiin ato nga binyo. Pero copy-paste mga kabyanan ang picture sa gay day sa isa ka lugar abroad. Amo gid tanan madang gabayo to mga gay naton nga mga kautura no, mga kwan naton nabi mga masiling third six sabi
nahingagaw apang imong
LGBTQ na siya na nano da do kadamo sang ila gina-address na da pag identify sang ila kaugalingon bla
gutom kadamo pa masakiton lala nang
amo gid sa gay day celebration
balan kung
at the time daw ginpost lang bala ginkuha ato kay di ka mo damo gituod sa mga gay at the time sa isa ka lugar sa abroad ari di sa aton nga listano ari di sa aton na receive tay ti si Father Agot inayan amo ang nagpost ti gin-accept naton ginawira naton kay ti pare ni siya mo
bakulo daw hindi na
ti lain kalain niya sobra na niya kuno nga pagbinutig kag pagpatalang sa mga pumuluyo kung hangpon naton ang note ni Father Ago Tinayan no kay gina copy paste lang nila kundi into mga dagko nga bulyong sang crowd ginakuha nila
kamusta nagali
kapin pa nagablayo pula
banwa nga kung diin
I don't know kung ang ginpost nila siniyo
sa bangko
dito sa may Ilocos Sur
langga nga syudad
Ilocos Norte
syudad niya kung diin na
the same sa gay day nga mga crowd
tawag sa amon
ginkumparar gid mo ni Father Inayan
may buaya
hindi man siguro magkomentar ang pare kay pare niya kagka-formal sining klase sang pare
wala gid may
aktibo niya kag ara gid siya bla ang mission bilang isa ka pare.
Subong diin ka na.
Kita mo mga programa yada sa Punta Taytay, halos tanan ginadiparaya alin sa mga kabataan.
Matamis
mga sitwasyon daw ay siya nagakalipat. Ginapadayon niya ang Christianity. Ginatudluan niya kung ano nga mga bagay ang dapat timuon sang isa ka Kristiyano. Gina-orient niya ang mga kabataan. Pido ka misyonary sa iyang klase sang pagkapare bla. Di amo ning gin-adapt ang mga kabyanan kay ti kapormal siniya nga tawo mo.
So nagapanago sa sulod sang aton banwa, wala ka.
Tanawon tanak ron mga kabyanan na galing kay ti way ko mapasa kay Nunong ining picture kay luya ko ipakita ni karon ta ni sa inyo. Pero sige lang basi may ngagaw lang bla. No? Di daw amo na ang mga sitwasyon sa karon. So amo na ang mga national issues naton mga balita sa karon. Kagkapin pa may mga dalagko pagyapon nga mga bulyong nga mga na-recover sang Cebu sa Cebu, grabe. Diri sa sudad sang Bacolod, grabe man. Sige. Kanawon ta na magkaroon mga kabyanan na. Kanon ta di ang aton nga kwan. By the way, si Hontiveros, dumduman yun ng isyo ang pagdakop la sa kay Bargani, mag-uton ni nga Bargani.
Gadugay galala nga galala na imbis.
Ang ilagali flight alin sa Singapore going to Davao.
Hindi na maagwanta sa
1.8 million plus almost 2 million
sila gana
ang ilag pagbayad sa private plane. Parang daw wala na sila blahasol. Dala na to ang ilang pag-iskapo kung tani o galing kay na-intercept sila. Na-intercept sila sang kwan Senate guard, no? O kung ano na Senate sheriff.
Sila pa nag-iya syudad niya kung diin naman
na-intercept sila, that's why ngandakpan gid sila ya.
Muna tawag sa amon.
Unahon ta niya, i-play ta niya ang iya ni Hontiveros niyo. Matiin nyo bla mga kabyanan. Galing daw malawig-lawig ni. Almost 5 minutes ni. Sige lang. Agwan taon nyo lang. Pero ka-informative sinikayo mo. Kay man nga, galibog ang ulo nila. Kay man daw ang tax declaration sinini Barganing magutod nga amo ang tagiyasang parmali,
Kun mo sa amon.
purti kagamay may ara nga 100,000 lang ang iya nga kwan nga ano ni nga gintax.
Gobyerno sa Bacolod ya kurap nagakurap na. Kadam
Matian talang nga basic kwan na. Si Senator ano ni Ontiveros, okay? Ari matiin nyo bla para nga may ara kamo sang view, may ara kamo sang impormasyon regarding sini, okay? Bebe. Okay.
Patuloy natin
Oh.
mag-imbestiga sa Farmally. Una, ang totoong presyo ng chartered flight ni Mohit at Twinkle Dargani. At ang ikalawa, ang incident report sa Davao International Airport noong November 14, 2021. Nais kong simulan itong ating press conference upang ipaalala sa lahat ang income tax na binayaran ng magkapatid na Mohit at Twinkle Dargani dahil mahalaga ito sa ibabahagi ko ngayong umaga. Mag-focus na lang tayo sa latest figures. Noong 2019, before the pandemic, Mohit paid 22,000 pesos while Twinkle's information is unavailable. In 2020, sa kasagsagan ng pandemya at sa panahong nagkaroon ng sizable deals ang kanilang kumpanyang Farmally sa gobyerno, nagdala si Mohit Dargani ng higit 97,000 pesos taxes paid.
97,000.
At si Twinkle naman ay 1,000 pesos.
1,000 lang uli.
Sana all ka na lang talaga. Kaya naman nagulat namin nang matanggap namin ang dokumentong ito na nagpapakita mayroong nagbayad ng 37,000 US dollars para sa chartered flight nilang magkapatid papuntang Davao. At ayon sa flight details, after Davao, pupunta silang Kuala Lumpur. Mga kasama, sa mabilisang computation, yan po ay 1.85 billion pesos for just one flight. At sa totoo lamang, ang resibong ito na nagpapakita ng halagang ay nagpapakita ng bayad pa lamang para sa eroplano.
Eroplano lang.
And then, sana all, parang nag-book lang ng halagang 2 milyong biyahe sa app. On our end, in the interest of due diligence, we also tried to estimate if this was how much a chartered flight is. Kaya, nagpa-quote kami sa ibang flight service sa parehong itinerary na nakasaad sa dokumento kanina. Mula Singapore, pupunta sa Davao, tapos sa Kuala Lumpur, at pabalik ng Singapore. Sa isang mid-size na chartered flight, ang quote po na ibinigay sa amin ay mas mataas pa nga. Nasa $91,000 tulad ng nakikita mo sa inyong screen. Kaya, ang nais kong itanong sa susunod na hearing ay ito. Kung kinaya ng mga Dargani na magbayad ng ganyang halaga na halos 2 million pesos para sa isang chartered flight, mukhang hindi tama ang income tax na binayaran nila. At bukod pa dyan, kung hindi sila ang nagbayad, ang tanong tuloy, sino ang nagbayad? The Darganis must be very important to that person or those persons who paid for it. Ngayon, para naman sa ikalawang dokumento, hawak natin itong incident report sa Davao Airport noong November 14, ang araw na naaresto ng ating mga opisyal ang magkapatid na Dargani matapos ang mahabang panahon ng kanilang pagtatago at sa baluarte pa mismo ni Presidente. Let me quote from the incident report. Upon arrival of the passengers, they were presented to the immigration personnel at the ramp near the airport and were checked personally one by one with their passport, and they were allowed to board the aircraft.
Ako ang
Very
pamangkot na.
obvious that despite the fact that the immigration lockout bulletin order was already issued against the Darganis as early as September 25, muntik pa silang makalusot sa ating gates. Ano ba ang procedure? Paano at pinasakay pa sila ng aircraft? Additionally, since my committee exposed the Pastilla scheme, interesado ako to dig deeper. But could it be possible na nabigyan ng pastillas itong mga frontline immigration officers?
Aragapon.
Baka naman sila ang nakatulong na ma-inform ang mga otoridad kung kaya dapat sila pasalamatan. What is the story? And the biggest question of all, is there a reason kung bakit Davao Airport ang pinili nilang departure point?
Mag-enjoy sa
Okay nga ro doon. Sakto naman.
sa ospital, hindi na mahinga.
Nag-commercial siya. Tama na. Subaybayan mga kabyanan. Bantayan ta lang ni. Bantayan ta lang kay kuan pa man nimo. Imbestigahon ni sa Blue Ribbon Committee.
Corona nga sakit.
Hindi tagid ni pagkuanluatan.
Na naghalin apang sila.
Kay man mabalaan ni mo, grabe no. Kung tanong naton ang tax declaration nila, 97,000 ang isa. Sang 2022 na yang isa kautod. Ang isa kautod nga Dargani, 1,000 lang iyang tax declaration. Sa Parmalina, ha?
Ipatinad.
Amo lang Parmalina mo nang gina-question blang nga naka-transaksyon ng gobyerno sang 8.6 billion pesos. Grabe, no?
Oh yeah.
Di mas manami ni kay manti nadakpan sila.
Ayasang.
Mabalaan ni kung sino ang nagprepara, sino ang nagbayad.
Di ang mga
Kaya ito yung sakto man to si Kwan, si Hontiveros, si Senator Hontiveros.
angko sa
Dawin sakto man siya. Ang tax declaration mo, 1,000. Ang isa mo yung kauto niya, 97,000 lang. Pero ang inyo isa lang ka domestic flight, back and forth, almost 2 million. Grabe, no?
wala gid may nahit. Kuman
Ala, sige.
forma
Basta korupsyon yan, namitan ko mo.
ang napili sang siya.
Grabe niya, kay manti nga.
Kung diin ka na
Isipan nyo bala mga kabyanan, kwarta naton ni mo.
subong nga
Kay kung wala lang sa mga kawatan nga ara sa gobyerno, insakto lang ang mga transaksyon,
bugas nga ipaka
hindi ta mamigado tod na ya.
kulod daw hindi
Hindi kita mamingado. Ang halos tanan nga mga proyekto kag gina-aim naton, kag gina-after naton nga i-deliver sang gobyerno sa aton, makwa tagid.
Gaduga asa sang imubulig, linibo na nga tao
O galing kay grabe gid sila kaya rada sila.
nagatulog
Ang tanan nga maneuver,
na tiniran bisan gamay lang nga
himuon gid nila.
sa sulod sang aton banwa.
Di ko ni kwanta na di sa sa Bacolod. Grabe pag ginadiya ang Parmale, ang inyo lang gina-question kamo da. Ang isa ka PPS, nagabili lang da sang 1,900.
Kagaw bisan dalon sa
910 centavos. Amo nang inyo da, pero gina-question nyo pa.
buong
Di sa Bacolod ya, abi nyo ang PPS na mundi, 3,000 ang isa kasit, ang isa lang kakwa na, isa na kasit bla, sang PPS, 3,050.
na naghalin apang sila pagaan
Sobra pa diya, double ya mo, double ya. Sobra pa ni sa Parmali mo.
wala nga galala na
Ang Bacolod Expose,
gobyerno
paliw gabi, kaya ang datos ko di,
kulod daw hindi na maag
nadala guro to sa pagkadula blasang kwan sang akon nga cellphone.
patin
Ginpasahan yung ginman ko di mo.
gobyerno
Bacolod Expose, tagai tabi sang kopya tuliwa tabi. Kung ano na mga development ka na kwan nyo da, pati itong iya blasang kuwa bla, reklamo sang kuwa to. No, pasapasahiman tadi.
sang
Kaya hindi na si lulo nyo. Si lulo nyo rin, hindi nagid ka takol-takol, sigid ka layaw, ha?
buaya nga
Balay ubra lang niya to ni.
pinalangga
Huwag natagwa-guwa gani sa aton puloyan mo. Baka lang tasang kung ano da pulo panakot, amo lang na. Huwag nagita gagwa-guwa. Magwa lang tam, bakal sang mantika, asin, kamatis, daw amo lang nabla.
Sa pwesto daw hindi pa
O siling magsagad patakalayaw. Huwag nagidi.
nga platapon.
Ga-respitar man ta sa aton local government na kapin pa gaugtas na gatalais ng kalbo ni Ilcid Pamilyara, no?
Luto. Ang tanggap.
Ala, sige. Gainarak na di ganing akon nga mga cellphone, no? Pero dali lang, dali lang bala. Dayaw ko sinyo. Kahat sinyo blayahaw,
Kurap nga gakurap na. Kadamo nga pigado ga asas ang imo bulig. Linibo na nga tawo ang imo nga
kung sa Cebu, baw, grabe to. Do, pila ka gramo to, do, 600 grams? Nga, kuano, why pa mapasa sa akon sang Negros Daily Bulletin, eh.
Partaara si mo.
Pero ang Negros Daily Bulletin, nagpasa sa akon niya sang apprehension sa isa ka bypass operasyon nga giniwat diri sa siyudad sang Bacolod.
Apang imo nga tawo ga
Suno sa Negros Daily Bulletin, duha ka mga drug personality ang nadakpan diri siyudad sang Bacolod. Ang mga personalidad ginarestar samtang mga 639,000 nga worth ang ginasuspitsuhan nga shabu nga ginpatigayon sa pag bypass operation sang aton operative during sang baw simultaneous bypass operation ni sa barangay Villamonte, Bacolod City karon lang gid nga adlaw, no? Ini suno sa report sang Negros Daily Bulletin. Grabe ka active man ni sa kay Arman Tuga, no?
galala nga galala na imbes nga ipatinad wala
Daw mo lang ning newspaper nga daw kaaktibo sa mga kwano sa ano ni sa pasahib la sa messenger. Ang suspitsado gina-identify sa kay Rafael o kon alias Nonoy Martir. Uy na, man niya si Nonoy man.
gali ang mga
Noy, why ka ginagahalong?
kundi indo gada
Noy na, man ka na.
kung ko di sa
Ginmansahan mo naman ang apelido sa aton Colonel Dre. Pag-ulang na siya gin-assign diri.
ng mga tawo
Si Colonel Joseph Martir.
tawag sa amo
Tani kung may mga mo sinahalong blaka mo, baw kung madakpan ka kag makunan ka ni Colonel Martir.
gusto daw hindi
Ambot lang kung ano ang mambot lang, no?
agid may natuman
Hindi pagigkui ang apelido.
napili
Sagrado ng apelido mo.
apang subong diin
Ti kung ikaw ya, kung sino ka man, basi kung distance relative ka man lang,
sugid namon makita matamis nga yuho
ti basi bla kung ikaw yung nagmansa sang sina nga apelido, no?
no sa Bacolod daw hindi na maagwanta samtang nga
Ang ining si Nonoy Martir, by 43 anyos na gani,
gobyerno sa Bacolod
residente ni sa sang 1192 Lapu-Lapu Street, kag subong man si Janice o kung Tisay, Palo, Tisay,
Subong na
meaning gwapa giniguro.
wala natin
36 anyos mo lang gani ni.
so nagapan
Sa 1203 Lapu-Lapu Street man,
taabis ang gamay
sa Gonzaga Subdivision.
kwarta aras makuha at
Gonzaga Subdivision.
sabaw ang pagpadamo mo sa
Grabe.
kwarta ginahingagaw apang imo nga patay na lang sa kagaw
Natabo ang pag-apprehend sila mga alas 10 ang aga.
lagid ka
Pinagi sa isa ka pusher buyers nagtransaksyon sa mga suspitsado.
lala na
Kag nagpakuno-kuno nga mag-purchase ang Cebu.
di mabalik
Unami nga taktika.
di maintindihan ang pagpalakat sa gobyerno
Sa tiyon sa pag-aresta sa kay Martir,
upang nga negosyo sa China naghalin apang sila pag
nga sa diin ini si Martir, ara na gid man sa listahan so far, no? Nga isa siya ka high value individual diri syudad sa Bacolod. Ini ang ginpahayag sa aton kapulisan.
na gobyerno sa Bacolod yaku
Ti ang nakumpiskar bawanong gid kabilog dagko nga mga plastic blas ang naputos Cebu.
Bacolod yakurap na
May pituman ka medium size ang plastic. Dason may 15 ka mga gagmay nga mga sesi. sa ginasuspitsuhan nga ginaprohibit nga shabu, no? Di tanaw ini sa aton kapulisan, mga almost ginkilo ini, no? Mga 64 grams, 64 grams. Ang value sini, street value, magadangat ini sa 500,000, mga 435,000. Grabe, no?
Sa pwesto daw hindi pang
Sus, pang big time na ni.
himo kag wala gid may
Dako ini mga kabyanan kay mantiya 64 grams niyo.
natlisang siya ang
Daw almost double sa apo ni Mayor Evilio Leonardia, bla.
damo nga kinahanglan
Sobra to 30 grams mo ang na-recover sila ni Kwan, ni Dinduman.
hatag bugas nga ipakaon mo sa
Kag ni Anthony John Michael Tan Leonardia.
silagana gobyerno sa Bacolod ya
Pruti kay kumuka apelyido, waaya na priso ang apo ni Evilio Leonardia.
pasalig iban hasta subong nagat
Ginpaluap ta gini kang magkuan pulo pamangkot kita bisan sa Kernel Pico ni gapangariks gapangalot sang buli ya mo.
da ka na
Hindi ama.
mga
Do expression ko lang do ginapananaw ko bla do ginarikis sila kun katuan ng media mo.
makuha
Sir na no ni sir nga nabuyan niya si John Michael Tan Leonardia tungod kay apo siya ni Beng. Ni uy ko nakakuan atin na lang kamo sa usgado to. Pigita mo.
mahingag
No, pulis hindi ka explicar mayo.
kung tasubong kadamo nagut
Katuan man si Binyas at the time, ginailanat si Binyas mo.
balan kung
Na COVID sa kuno.
pala
Under quarantine siya.
nangasa
Ay grabe mo.
negosyo
Ilain gid man niya galikon ka apelyido kasang kuan no. Amo ni nga mga bagay mga kabyanan nga hindi ni Mary sakon nga paminsaron kay man nga
maagot
dumduman nyo si Espinido.
nga galala na imbes nga ipatinan
Why gani pagkapong ko ya di why gani mabulanan?
gobyerno sa Bacolod daw hindi
Nagpagwa na siya, nagpangharas gid siya, nagkatugid siya dayon sa kwan mo.
nga ipatinan
Sa mga area blang kwan gid, mga red tag gid blang Cebu country gid bla. Da sa may Banago. Di may dadakop gito dayon.
oh yeah
Sa uli, dito siya nagpagwa kay man nga sang iya statement.
kamusta nagali ang mga
Kay nakanotice na siyang daw i-transfer siya sa lain nga kwan.
tagapungko
Mga Rus gito siya mo.
nga si Nadia pinalangga nga
Tiga, gaupod gid siya,
ng mga
gaupod gid siya sa reading team.
amo na tawag sa amon
Siguro may natandog siya nga mga big time drug lord eh.
inbulos sa pwesto
Amo to nga daw nagpapriskon siya.
himo kag wala
Kay manti na notice siya na nga i-transfer na siya, ibalik na siya sa kamkrami mo.
amon kinahanglan sa
Dito siya nagambal.
gusto gid na
Siling niya, grabe ang Negros Occidental, upod ang Bacolod.
sa amon gobyerno
Perte kadamo sang mga politiko nga ara sa likod sang drug operation.
Silaga.
Yan ay ang bala, hindi na akon.
gakurap
Hindi na iya akon.
kaduga asa sang imubu
Tikon pamatian mo to nga may mga politiko nga ara sa drug operation.
nagatulog na lang sa kilid kay wala na tiniran bisan gamay
Ti pagmeet lang mo John Michael Tan Leonardia, apo ni Mayor Evilio Leonardia. Ti sinuabi ang politiko de.
ara si mo bulsa uha ara si kanap
Dasa wala lang si Kwan ba?
mo sa
Mayor Beng, dasa wala lang si mo yan, no?
tao kagaw bisan dalong
Grabe.
nama
Doko, mukliyas tagipusoon mo yan.
yung kasubong
Why man gin katuan ang imo apo kagakigan.
di mabalaan subong di
Lani kay kumo kay na involved tong apo mo, gin katuan mo. Dala ka media, Bisan drama pa na siya, akig-akigan mo.
Ginapang sila pag-aanunsyo, baksin na kunubulong kag ipasampol sa Pilipino. Gobyerno sa Bacolod daw hindi na maagwanta, samtangan nagadugay galala na galala na imbis nga ipatinad, wala na sila gana. Gobyerno sa Bacolod gakurap na gakurap na. Gobyerno sa Bacolod daw hindi na maagwanta, samtangan nagadugay galala nga galala na imbis nga ipatinad, wala na sila gana. Gobyerno sa
Do nagakasalamukan man ko sang akon nga. Di ba? Bisan gindrama-dramahan mo lang to, butang balon pagkita mo nga may concern ka. Kagliksyonan mo siya nga ra ang mga media, hindi ka magamuna. Si lolo mo isa ka mayor. Ako si Mayor Evelio Leonardia alias Bing Leonardia. Apota ikaw. Hindi ka mag-amo sina kay kontra ko ina. Di ba? Kabati ka dyan, Michael Tan Leonardia. Di kundi daw ka nami, tane.
gulo sa pwesto daw
Di kihipos ka lang. Di kundi naangot ka sa statement ni Espinido.
iya mismo natap
Di ba?
pa ang napili sang siya ang
Makon mo ang ipis ang Drug Enforcement Unit at the time.
damo nga
Si Borromeo pa to mo. Pagkadto namon nga ma-interview kami, why na niya kakas na siya, gina-relieve.
ipaka
Inislan dayon nila mo.
no sa Bacolod daw
Ay, kaluluoy man. Amo nang diferensya man no, sa mga pulis.
imbis nga
Mabutang ka man gali sa delikado.
na
I-relieve ka man kung yung kaso.
gakurap
Kung may siling mo, accomplishment report ang ginapangita mo, kung may madalasa ka gali, nga bakod sa politika,
pilid kay wala
i-relieve ka gali.
may lang nga kamalig
Ginislan to dayon ng sigida mo.
aton banwa wala ka nakita abis
Nalipat lang ko to kung sinong ginilis. Daso na, ang ginilis, hindi mo ma-interview. Hindi mo ma-interview kay why daga kadto gali sa kwanda.
nasa ba
Opisina da. Yaway na di ka kadto.
nyagaw
Si Kwan na lang, si Pico na lang ang Colonel Pico na lang ang interview ha.
hindi na
Kita mo? No? Grabe no?
matwasyon ta subong kadamo na gutom
Ti amo na ni, amo na ni.
lala na nga sa
Amo na ni.
ano rason kag hasta
Ti mao dagko nga volume sang siyabong ginapang recover pa diyo.
palakat sang
Gabay pa si Colonel Martir po titanaw ta daw order ini ni Colonel Martir. Kita mo sang pagpungko niya. Alagisod ang reday.
gobyerno sa Bacolod daw hindi
Kung imo gid man ni Colonel Martir, Joseph Martir, move, gina-congratulate ka.
gakurap nga
Gina-congratulate ka.
Bacolod daw hindi
Kag base kung may apelido pag iti sa mga politiko kagwan, hindi mo pag tabun-tabunan. Iniyaw, imo na giniyaga ni apelido yaw.
kurap nga gakurap
Disiplina na yaw. Colonel, gabay pa ma-disiplina tani kay who knows? Ikaw ya kita nga sa ara sa higher position. Kung ano man rin ang mag-gain naton, imo lang na iya, pero ang outcome sina, ang imo mga kabataan sa uli, mga apo mo, basi biktima kon sini.
syudad niya kung
Kaya kabataan, subong luyag sa mga jaming-jaming, grupo-grupo, bla.
tawag sa amon
Kita mo na ang mga kabataan, subong, masami mo makitaan sa mga beach resort.
pinakaon
Yagang-yang ang ilaya, daw ga-explore sila yablao.
himo kag wala gid may
Tidra sa kwan, sa mga grupo, dra na nag-start eh.
pa ang napili sa
Dra na gasulod ang sindikato.
subong diin ka na
Kapin pa, tanaw nila nga daw mga will-to-do, mga nga grupo.
makita
Sudla na dadayo niya.
gapanghatag bugas
Tiga bay pa, amo lang ni gani, ang aton nga, kwan ha, ang aton lang nga pag-assist ni.
na imbis nga
So much more kamo nga may mga intelligence fund kamuda.
ulod gakurap nga
Kernel ang intelligence fund nga ara kay Mayor Evelio Leonardia, ginahatag man sinyo.
alig iban asta
I-demand kamo nga kwaon yun na, kay intended na sinyo,
lang nga
para kagiho kamo.
gapanago sa sulod
Iti karon na kung pa kuan lang da ano na
para si mo bulsa wala ka may
papirmahon lang kamo da kundi daw ka kuan nyo.
makwarta imo ginahi
Kung hindi sila magatag ay kuan bla sa media bla kay basta mga kuan lang media nga true. crusader.
Masang sitwasyon kasub
Bala mo kadamo man siya sang media nga daw pabor siya mo. No, hindi taman na sila yung basol kay ti obligasyon man na nila. Di ba?
kung anong bulong. Di
Kita man din katabo dio sa Singkang Airport to, kita mo nagwangal gito gali ang caretaker to sang luta to. Iya gali to tawo ni Bob Montelibano. Sir Bobby mo to gali bata, bata-bata to si Felipe.
maagwanta.
Felipe Impase.
Galala.
Susdogin ilad to siya gali gininto to siya sang kuno abido amo na nga stasyon na ma-interview gali kay lain ang nag-interview siya.
Kasamtangan
Hindi ko lang paglabago na.
na imbis nga
Ti kalaway na.
ipagana.
Tibla.
Lodyak.
No, nang litokon kabla, nang may mga hidden agenda bla nga mga
Oh yeah.
ti abilidad na yan mo.
Ayas.
Ay, Maria Joseph. Sige ha.
Kamusta na gali ang mga tao?
Sige.
Duwa nga kung diin do gadamo na ang buaya nga gapong
Oras naton subong alas 5 by 17 na mga kabyanan.
iya.
Dali lang ha, dali lang. Kay karon matumpok naman eh. At least amo na, may accomplishment. May accomplishment ang aton nga kapulisan. Ti gina-congratulate naton. Basta mga muna, no? And then, abaw ang vlog ni Kwan sang anak ko si Gibis cellphone abaw do pelikula gali ni do drama grabe no ari na ang kay Kwano kay Agustin Inayan Father Agot ni
Batulo daw.
Ario ang picture yan ni mga kabyanan tanawan nyo ni Blau ambot ko ma-pick up ni sang kamerata Nong
Bunang nga tawo ang imo nga
why siya okay ari mga kabyanan kita nyo niyo kita nyo hindi na makwan hindi ne pwede hindi yan ni Father na yan tanawan nyo bla mga kabyanan gin-post ni nila sa daw mga supporter ko no ni BBM igo mo raon ini nga post the same ini nga picture sa isa ka natabo didto sa abroad no ining kwano gay day sang Anaheim you are the first to know the link for discounted park ticket and hotel room for gay day Anaheim are live now. Book your today at www.gayday sanahimimpo.com. Parehas kin mga kabyanan no. Lain nga building ang ginplastaran sang gay day dason ang iniya ginpost nila sa isa ka tililipon sang BBM. So meaning ginahaslo kita no. Grabe nga mga propaganda no. Grabe nga mga propaganda ipasa nila kwaon nila sa lain nga mga lugar kadua na ni kabisis ang obserbasyon ni Father Inayan eh. Kadua na ni kabisis. Kadua ni kabisis. Ang isa to sa motor sa caravan to nga gin-copy-paste man nila ang isa ka picture to sa isa ka lugar. Ti magamuni nga klase sa mga presentation. Waay pagani ka pungko ginatunto na taho.
pang subong diin ka na
Nga ginamo ta siniman.
damo nga kinahanglan sa subong nga
Tani aktual. Ti kun na mga pobre ka lang ni nga waay ka hinalungong, dapat sini kung ma-receive mo ni ang ginpasa sa inyo ni Father Agotinayan, ipangpasa nyo man, i-share nyo man para nga ma-aware kay man ang kabataan subong nagabilib mo. Yo grabe yung kwano, gali kay ina nga mga persona na kag ina nga binyo lain didto na yagali sa abroad.
la na tiniran
Gina-pick up lang sa mga ambot ko na nung mambal mo ni.
banwa
Do hindi ko maintindihan nga ginaamo kita sini. Temprano pa ginatunto na ta.
Di mo bulsa, wala ka may maku.
Oh, kalaw ay blaw. Uay pagani ka pungko, uay pagani ka dalaog, kung sino madaog. Pero ginatunto na tao.
Gaw, apang imo nga tao.
Hindi ni Mayo para sa akon. Hindi ni Mayo. Ti kuning kaso magdaog ni Sly. Natuntuan do parehas mamla sa ambal ni Ilin na Guadilla. Nagsakit gid ang buot ni Ilin na Guadilla.
Di mabalaan kung anong bulok.
Kaya ang tao ni Bing nagambal na, Len, naintuan ta naman sila. Kita mo? No?
Sila pag-aanunsyo, baksin.
Nagsakit itong buot ni, ay, kung namo, ginainto nung namon ang mga tao. Pati ako, guro, ginainto yaman ko. Purti man gasto ko mo.
Wala na sila.
Bla?
Gobyerno.
Makon mo kunara si Ilin na Guadilla, tawag na siya kuno ni Bing Leonardia. Yan na bersyon ni Ilin, ha?
Tasamtangan.
Len, may mga kapitan di o, tiyan mo man ang isip ni Ilin. Oo, Mayor, sipon mo na kung pila kabilong ang kapitan.
Up na.
Tikutan niya man na. Ti mayo lang kung mayong ginansyanay sa money changer da. Kung nabi pati ang iya kwarta nga, ipamaylo iya dollar. Lasik pa. Ay, ti, kita mo? Grabe, no?
Banwa nga kundi
That's why nga kinanglanon gid ang genuine, authentic nga impormasyon.
pa nag-iya.
Si Father Ago, tani kung makatawag, Father, nagligad to, Father man to, parte sa Kwanbla, Karaban. Father, basta makatawag ka, 458-8015, no?
Sa liga.
Landline lagabi, Father Agot.
May natuman, iya
Buligi ko, abi, patag sa mga tao.
ang napili sang siya ang
Mas manami iya, mas marespitar ang tao kung ikaw ang nagambal, Father Agot.
Kung nga tigulutom, gusto gid namon makita matam.
Gabay pa, basi kung nagamonitor, basi kung gamisa, subong si Father.
Do daw in tasa. Galala nga galala.
Grabe ni siya. Nya, kasal. Bunyagon, way kwarta. Dala de. Bunyagan taway na kwarta-kwarta. Hindi na pagkuna.
Tinibo na nga ta.
Ang importante nga mabindisyonan kamo.
Subong.
Doa muna siya ang klase, pari.
Wala na tiniran, bisan gamay lang nga kamalig.
Kita mo po ang gulo garden. Kwan Aria, nagbilib man ko diyo.
Wala ka may makuha.
Isa naman na sa nagsulod sa aton di ang kwan nga messenger.
Babaw, ang pagpadamo mo sang kwarta imo.
Lain gid man kung do programmer man bla ang isa ka leader nato no.
Lagid ka tama sa
Ini si Mayor Tongson sang Himamaylan.
tom kadamo pa masakit to.
Magatukod sa sang automated weather station para sa syudad sang Himamaylan.
Di maintindihan.
Personalya ini nga bisitahan ang paghiwat sa sininga project.
Sin nga kuno bulong kag ipasampol sa Pilipino. Gobyerno sa Bacolod daw hindi na
Sa sining area nga sa diin ginapropose nga pagatukuran sang automated weather station equipment.
kurap
Di ara gid mga kabyanan no. Adaw area visitation sila no. Si Raymond Tongson.
Nga ipatinad, wala na sila gana.
Ang inigali nga automated weather station ginagamit ini para sa pagmonitor sang pag-accurate sang pinomena no kung ano dira ang matabo. Ti kundi ka daw kanami ma-aware ka bla
Banwang
gina-forecast ini kung ano ang mga sitwasyon kag may research sa technology man siya.
daga pa nag-iya. Syudad niya kung diin ng mga tao malipat.
Sunod diri ang aton alkalde nga si Raymond Tongson sang Himamaylan
Gatingo happy.
nagatanaw sang future abi no bahin sining pagpatukod sang aton mismo nga pag-asa satellite office.
Iya nga plataporma, iya mismo natapakan.
Di ang hambal sa aton na alkalde Raymond Tongson
Tanon, damo.
nga padayunon aton ang pag-ampo agod sa diin magaabot sa aton ang grasya sang aton makagagawom para sa aton syudad
Do daw hindi
sang Himamaylan.
gadugay galala nga
Sige,
galala.
okay, muna. Another one, nagsulod sa aton, arin lalain naman niya. Ay, grabe niya ang iyayaw. lain niyang nagsulod sa ato, no? Mga politikong Pinoy talaga ay kakaiba. Nakakaiba talaga.
Nakita bisan gamay
Kay man nga,
samtang nagapungko ang
kung buhay politika gali, ang buhay diri politika sa Pilipinas, kung may eleksyon, tumatakbo.
padamo mo sang kwarta.
Tandaan nyo kung may eleksyon, tumatakbo. Pero kung may kaso, nalulumpo.
Gid ka tama sang sitwasyon ka subong. Damo
Ari, sulod naman din sa akon, di ho? Tisang may kaso si Gloria, rasa sa wheelchair, pati liog ya may harap.
corona nga sakit daw.
Wheelchair sila tanan. Si Joseph Estrada na wheelchair man. Mga korupsyon ng ilang mga kaso. Di ko magsiling ka korupsyon, hindi pangawat.
Imbis
Si Enrile, mau grabe nga tigulang niyo, no? Believe ko ni siya mo kalawi ginawa. Ang tiilya may bagkos, kung may kuan do pingkaw na siya, tiilya muman, no? Si Imelda Marcos, arao, grabe man, sobra pa sa COVID na wheelchair mo.
sang banwa.
Pero kung gadlagan sa politika, tumatakbo.
Banwa.
Halos tanan, pero kung may kaso na gani, nalulumpo. Doon namin nga,
Kundiin ng mga tao.
Maria Jose po.
Prod nga ba ko
Kita mo?
natawag sa amo.
Di si Gloria, nakitaan, gin plus man to pagka kuanyabe, ginakwit sabi, pagka daog niya bala congressman, pag-akwit siya sang kaso ya, grabe, padulong pala siya sa isa ka building, ginakakasyan na di ang iya, di bala nga sa liog, di bala. Do plaster cast na bala. Ay, kahapos lang likwaon mo, pinsan mo, nahigot, ged. Daw clip lang gali, guro. Daw pagkita lang das tao nga kunuabi, hindi sa kagiyo. Ti pag-akwit siya, kadali lang mo, kakas na yun.
Ana, kurap nga ga, kurap.
Ti siya niyang utok,
Asa sang
sang pag-merge ang persa ni Sara, Inday Sara, kag ni Bongbong Marcos.
tulog na lang.
Ti, amo ni si Gloria makapagal bla. Porti kalam sini.
O sa sulod sang aton banwa, wala ka
Kita mo, I am sorry, zero si Fernando po sa Mindanao.
wala ka may makuha.
Ay, believe ko yan.
Wala ka na
Ala, sige. Sakto na kay mabasa ta sa mga text message nila. Kay karon mawangal na sila ngayon dito. Sige, pila ni? 19? Okay. Mas mayon lang niya. 018, abi na unti. 018.
di mabalaan ang oras.
Ronda red, di sa Bacolod, grabe man na di nga kurakutay nila di. Hindi na maagwanta, dapat mapulak na gid sila. Albi sulid kami. Ibutang nyo ang inyong nga barangay.
Kasamtangan
Ngalan mo da o kun hayo mo da.
ni patinat.
Para nga do ko nami bla sa barangay amuna may nagatext gali sa aton di. Ano gid magbutang sa ang barangay aw?
Tangan na
Karon mo tonta ka.
kalala.
018.
Lagana.
Sige, okay. Another one, 396. May respeto ko sa pare, pero may salbayis nga pare. Okay. Imo man na obserbasyon. Migore, otamyaw ko si Maria Guli, Giselle Bibang, Chay, si Chay, Jeneline, okay? Nanamian gid kami di mamati sa Imore. Kay pulos kamatuoran gid si Madilas niya. Madilas. Okay. Madilas, thank you gid. 396. Okay, pakyaw kami para sa pagka-presidente. Pwede man si Isko o kay Makijos Makitabo. Okay. Another one, 799. Tagaan ta kamo timpo kay iba niya. Si Father Agot, wala na siya abilidad ni Pastor Kibuloy Ray. Believe ko ya, abi mo. O si Father Kibuloy, si Pastor Kibuloy. Siya niyang kwa niya. Siya kuno ang anak sang Diyos. This word is mine. Gari kay may child trafficking kagalito yung kaso.
Padamo mo sang kwat. Apang imo nga tao baka patay na lang sa
Abi nyo ang reliyon, usisaan nyo mayo kay basi ang gwa nyo bala kulto.
kwasyon kasubong. Kada
Kung makasulod ka na sa isa ka kulto, kabudlay gali magwa mo.
rason kag astaya
O tingala ko ang ila doktrinasyon, grabe.
dihan ang pagpalakat sang gobyerno. Corona nga
Aware gid ka mo. Ako gani mati lang ko sa mga Bible da nga ginakuan bla sa pila. Lain-lain man nga mga pastor ang ginapamatian ko. Gapamati man ko pare gali do hindi ko supisintes pare kay do kalipot bla. Unlike sa iban, ang nanamian ko si Kwan si Ili Soriano kay tagaan niya kaliwi mamangkot ka sang anong conscious ka bla sa belief mo kung ano na obserbahan mo. Amo na blan, patag siya mo. Kung tani amo ini nga mga programa, agud nga sa diin, kapin pa, bago nga mga technology, subong, kanami gid nga presentation.
ayas
Sundan nyo ni. Hindi kay magasagad ka mo gagawa no. The word is mine! I am the Son of God!
nagasin
Gali kay may kaso kagali nga child trafficking. O grabe no, hindi ka gali maluwas. Hindi ka gali maluwas kung hindi ka na magpaggamit. Amo ng mga aligasyon. Ay, tsakto mangguro kay kung sampawan niya ka, masaka kas langit mo.
nagpadala. In ka na
Ate, ang Malacanang makubiral kung nasin kaso ni Kibuloy.
gulo. Namon makita
Pero damo ni siya, bisan risaton, may ginapalagaw di siya.
mo sa
Nagabalubaligya bla mga dulce, misyonary, kuno.
pantas.
Ay, kaluluoy, no? Kita mo mga kabataan pa.
Imbis nga
Ma-brainwash na sila bla.
ipurap nagakurap.
Grabe nang ikita mo da sa Plaza Kwandao, sa Freedom Park, ra.
Na lang sa kilid di wala natin
Magwangal da sila, san utod, gahibi-ibi, gid ang nagakwan.
lud sang aton kita.
Ako nagbagon ako. Tungod na sapuan ko na ang kamatuoran.
Uha
Sa una, adik ako. Nagasuyop ako sa mga muna.
padamo mo sa
Pero tungod, nakasulod ako sa amo sini.
kapatay na lang sa kagaw.
Nagpurma lang ako nga pangabuhi.
Mahingagaw.
Galing kay mga upod yaga, dala supo to sa piyako. Amen!
Kagastaya subong
Ay, Maria Jose.
ang bulok.
Kung magbantala ka mo sang pulong san Diyos, hindi ka mo mag-after. Babayin yung tao nga maghatag sa inyo.
Pag-anunsyo
Hindi kay katuan yung tao, bisan nagakaon. Humlaran nyo sang supot nyo, tiklaw ay na.
kaya lala
Diba?
na imbis nga ipat
Ang tao lang, pabayin nyo. Kabubuton sang tao.
biyerno sa bakulo daw hindi
Amo nang tudlo sa nga aton makagaw, ma.
kaya lala nga galala na imbis nga ipatinad wala na sila gana.
Inabla gani ang 10% kwa na tax, income tax. Gindulan na ni Kristo. Di ba? Kabubuton mo. Ginbutang yan na sa kabubuton.
Sa nagali
Hindi na siya compulsory sunod sa kay Ili Soriano.
ang buayang
Ginpat-pat yan na mo.
samtang nagasinadya pinalangga nga syudad sila gapa nagiya syudad niya kung diin ng mga
Ay, may tani kong nabuhi. Soriano, bang idamo tato makwanto? Perdi niya si Father Agot, perdi sa kay Kibuloy. Ay, mga langit ha. 017, Good PM Siri, wala imposible kung damo kwarta. Malubad nila ang kamaturan sa ila kwarta. Correct ini. Ako. Butangan nyo dayon barangay kagkuan para nga ma-inspired man tabala. No? Bisan na nyo lang Si Boy Palaka sang barangay amo niyo. Alias Tuwad. 45 good PM si Lusa Pinya nagataga patag daog si Albi kwa alagay si Buyot Syokon, sino naman bilin ang utin. Ay kasabad sinyo. Si Pacquiao parang magsaysay. O sige. Kayuan nyo. Ni taga patag madaog si Albi. Kuan lagay. Hindi ko kintindi. Kasabad sinyo. 967 PM pamatsyag ko kay rapid fire. Kuan mo gidingalan niya ba? Rapid fire nga upob ni Somsom daw ano ni? Tuklawi. Daw Somsom Tuklawi. Sige. Sorry migwa, ginatwist ko lang ni kay hindi ko gusto. Inyon take sa ikaw 967. Kamuya ang magambal, hindi nyo ko pagpambalon kay mga amigo ko nisla. 313, okay. Wala kayuhan lakat sang kalibutan, pulos na lang gamo ang pangabuhi tatanan, labi na gid ang bakulo demonyo ang panguna. Demonyo ang nagapanguda. Sige. Okay. 932. Okay na. Resource person top for Friday, November 26, Dr. Mio Quijano. Okay. May resource person kita sa Friday, 26. Okay. Sa 26, mga kabyanan, gina-plugging ko nino. Gina-plugging ko sa inyo. Isa ka espesyalista si Dr. Romeo F. Quijano, expert na doktor ini sa toxicologist, retired professor sa Department of Pharmacology and Toxicology, College of Medicine, University of the Philippines, Manila. Naman Okay. Sakay, okay, ma'am. Thank you, Gid, Thank you, Gid. Okay. Si Ma'am Lapurito. Basi ko may ivermectin ko da, ma'am. 552 mayong gabi, migo, Tatay Ray. Ay, may mga anak ko sa Lagwao. Balan ko kung sino nagpatay kay Salcido. Salcido? Okay. Si Salcido, hero ni siya. Ang buaya sa takas. Ginkagat niya sa atubangan. Pero hindi siya magkagat kay do kanisla, isang lahi nisla. Pero wala ko kabalo kung sabad sinyo. Hindi ko. Ibibigay kami. Salamat gid, God bless. Why naman kamo. Sa dason di ko magbasa kung waya. Unaon nyo ngalan nyo anay o kunayo barangay kag dispes ang inyong content sa inyong text account. Hindi ko magbasa kung why nyo hayo o kag barangay. Alagi sige ka muda. Singganang yun mo laktan yung barangay nyo 530. Hindi na magdaog si Bingkay kay Hindi na magdaog si Bingkay kay Alupi. Nagabot na perda kay nagabot na ang maperdi kay Darna si Superman kung ano kadamol biguti ya. Amo man na kadamol ang tarutot kurakot ya tarutot man ako na. Andaman nyo, basa, hindi ko magbasa kung waay kamungalan kag barangay. Sir Ray, nabunan na da iya siya sa mismo sa barangay 38 ang mapapirdi kay Mayor Evil. Ano naman? Nabunan na da sa nabunan na da iya sa mismo nga barangay ang mapapirdi kay Mayor Evil. Sige. Hindi ko blakin hindi kung kaysa mga text nyo. 187. Okay. Another one. Mugdong damo ba si Gabi Hipilga? Namo ning gusto ko. Migo Ray, good evening. Monitor lang ko di sa San Lorenzo Homes, Barangay Tangob. Nagadugoob di. Gabi, migo mo hipilga. Namo na iya. Butangan nyo kung diin ka mo nabilong. Another one, 940, Sir Remas gamhanan ang pari nga ara sa gapungko sa Siniko. Board, monitor lang kami di. Gamhanan? Ang pare nga ara sa gapungko bilang Board of Directors Siniko? Ay gamhanan na siya. Mati lang kami di Herbias ni Villamonte, thanks God. Sige. Another one, 017.
Oh yeah.
Good PM, Sir Jojo Gavalyo ni. Munang gusto ko, Barangay 35. Manamyaw lang kuya, ginatamyaw ko, Gavalyo family, Kalidgid family, kumpare ko na si Boy, kag si Paribibot. Sang Barangay 35, Jean family, sang Barangay Mambulak, Silay City. Mayong hapon lang da sa inyo tanan. Sakto nang imo siri, banate sila. Albi kami dia, kag pakman. Mga tikalon pablaw. 078. Good PM ron dare daw good mood ta karonaw. Ga utoy-utoy man ko kakadlaw magkadlaw ka. Sige. Sino ni gani? Silawayon si mo. Karon papaon ta. Papaon! 521. Pastor nga ator. Pastor nga ator ang panawagin ni sa ako niya mo. Bato na. Kumplito gid ang adlaw namon mati si mo basta di ka lang mag-ubo. Punggan mo na. Majisan news ning ubo ko. Pakal kami sa 2022 Pakman Kalaw Albi. Palayason ta mga buaya nga bigotilyo sa NGC. 897. Ronda Ray, good PM. Kada hapon nagapamati kami sa imo sa Purok 5, Barangay Linaw, Kabangkalan City. Maayugid ang programa mo. Pamilya ko sa Bacolod, albigid sila tanan. Si kagawad ni Joy Suway. Gawad, mayong hapon da si imo. Taga Linawon. Linaw, Barangay Linaw, Kabangkalan City. Kung nami isang taga Kabangkalan, giga text pa no. Sige, thank you, Gid. Thank you, Gid. Pau, laga kwan Pau. 530, grabe, sobra na malapit na 50. Good evening, Sir Ray, Erorico niya. Padag-unta si Elcid, bisan siya na lang. Kampanya ida. Sige, bisan siya na lang. Sige. 687, good PM, hindi kami magbuto sa Pirates of the Caribbean. Mga langka-langka, kag panapungol siya, kag kalbo pahanukoy ni Sir Cleopatra Balbastro. Cleopatra Balbastro, mayong hapon man simo. Thank you, Gid. 018. Sir, ma-apply na lang kuda sa imo. Manugbasa lang text, ha. Ha. Uy, nga bindi man. Lain pa to kay tagaan mo ko sang kwan, sang jutay nga tinion. Apply ka di, pero swilduhan mo ko. 396. Ikaw yung miswildo sa akon. Kamus, si Ma'am Ter. Wala na siya, agapanamyaw sa amon, si Madilas niya. Sige, sukmatan ko ni siya. 396. Hindi, nalipatan niya, nagligad ang iya nga isa ka notebook. Amo to nga nagkulang panamyaw ya. Ipadala na lang na ang buaya kay Senator Gordon para mapanitan na siya kag magpaputi na siya. Barangay Punta Taytay ni. Wow, grabe. Kapintas mo niya sa taga Punta Taytay, no? Butangan mo ganing alan. Isa na yung lang. Sige, te, why na? Kay madugang ko sa ngaton nga, nga mga issue, no? Okay? Sa, may ara pa. Nang lihog ko na isang music, tanong. Baby. May ara pa gali. Papa, ara da yun na. Kampanya na siya namon, sir. Sige. Are another one, papas gidsilin ko Guadilla. Good evening, kamusta lang da sa kay mayor mo nga kawatan? 12 minutos ang nabilin, kag magabot ang takna nga alas 6. Daw hindi nyo pa kung pagpakuanon, sinampaw pa rin inyong mga tekso. Hindi ta katakol sa atong topiko. Si Pastor Impostor kag si Rapikoy, wala pulos ang ilang ginapangwakal. Pulos wala kamaturan, buisit na sila. Hindi, migo, bayin nyo lang, hindi na kamumati kung kwan. Respetuhan nyo kay may mga obligasyon kita. Karon kung hindi manggali ka mo kumpormi sa nga kung ginapayag di kwanon nyo man, tagayin nyo man ta chance ang ambuhi. Kaya di man ko kapangabuhi mo. Di ba? Obligasyon ko nang ang pagkuan sa inyo. God PM Rondare, si Pidoy, si Pidoy ni taga Barangay Singkang. Every year, ga-celebrate kita sang Idsa Revolution. Paano kung magdaog si Bongbong makahuluya, mahimo kita kaladlawad sa bilog nga kalibutan. Pacman, Albi, Distrito, Kamidi. Sige.
Bisan gamay lang nga kamali.
Tihara na sa aton kay daw ginakita mo, grabe mga posting nila, o ginakape-paste gali nila sa iban nga lugar nga gabalayo pula, kung din tongkwan. Gay day gali to sang ganihan. Isa guro ni ka lugar no sa abroad. Ang structure diya lain no, gin copy paste nila kag gin post nila sa daw rally kuno ni Bongbong.
Kadamo pa mas
temprano pa ginainto to ng tao nano ni man.
Subong di mabalaan kung
ipang share nyo ni ang gin post ni Kwan ni Father Agot Inayan.
Sakit daw
para nga mabuligan ta ang mga tao nga way kabalos ang ila mga abilidad ni basta tinuntuan ay gainitulo ko na iya. Hindi ko na kumpormi. Iprangka lang sa ako, nahiluwa lang ko, hindi lang ko pagtuntuhabla. Kay kalaway na
Pulod ya kurap.
Temprano pa ginagago mo na ko, tinanong pagtanaw mo sa ako na be. Hindi no.
Nagalala.
Respeto ang pagkatawo ko, kay respeto man ko simo. Hindi kay ikaw lang yung respetuhon, kagaguhon mo ko, kundi hindi amo. Hindi niya mo. Hindi nang tsakto.
Yeah.
Buligin nyo niyo, maita ni si Father, kundi niya ninakwa, kay wais ang definisyon di, kundi ini nga lugar, ang di sa Pilipinas, nga daw nagtinumpok ng mga tao ni BBM ni, gali kay iyan isang gay day. Ay, Maria Josep Santissima, ginakuha ng gali na, copy-paste lang, no?
Halos tanan
Butangan sang isa kay Ria, grabe ang obra sa mga vlogger, no?
ginakaon.
Tani sa mga vlogger mo na, hindi nyo pagpatami nga ginatunton nyo, ginaslo nyo ng tao.
Iya nga plat
Ang matuod bala,
tapakan kag siya pa.
itungod lang sa kwarta nga ginagain mo da, tuntuhon mo ang parehas mo. Once nga mag-post ka mo, minilyon niya ang nagatanaw sang inyong nga post mo.
Is ngayo
Di mayroon ko madiskubrihan nga ginaslo mo, kwan, amo na bala, kalaw ay isang ginaobran nyo, Hindi na yan tsakto. 986, okay. Mayong gabi, sir, kag sa tanan nga tagpalamati sang DYKB, RPN, sir. Ari lang kami di, monitor gid sa imo programa. Salamat gid, sir. God bless. Sin o ini. Abel Rico Naya. God bless. Sige, Abel Rico Naya. Thank you, gid. Sige. Okay nga ron. Another one, 052. Rondare, the best gid na si Father Agot suno sa kay Migo Jory Abad nga lay ministerya si Bertney sang Purok Utso Tangoba. Okay.
ilagid ka tam.
Ako pati man ko kay Father Agot maumok. Ang balatyago niya bala, ang concern niya sa komunidad. Hindi lang gani sa single person.
Maintindi.
Bilog ya ang iya concern. Ako pati ko sini kay Father Agot. Nakitaan ko bala siya ang isa ka preacher kag isa ka daw missionaries blang pagtanaw ko siya.
La nga galala na
Rondaris toto ni sang Tangoba. Niya punta sudan ko ginamos kag utan nga laswa kag sa amon di Kapitan Olivia Rodrigo ang amon CCTV di sanag pa sa adlaw.
Pulod ka.
Grabe. Pila bakal nyo na? Ang iyasang syudad gani, basi mahal-mahal lang inyo ya. Kay iyasang syudad, 350,000. Dalang installation, 350,000 na subungway kasiga matas ang CCTV.
Amo na ang bu
Mabakal pa ko no.
ko
Ay, Maria Josep na.
talang
Purya gaba nga klase, no?
iya syudad nga tawo malipayon.
Amo ni nga hindi, alin pagkabalo ko nga amo ning diskarte isang sining administrasyon. Alin pa sang 2005, kundi 2004 pagdaog ya.
Hindi pa mas
Pagka 2005, to na-discovery ko na ang mga kuan nila, diskarte. Matama to.
pakan
Pero why pa ko to nagrebuilde.
padalaga.
Si Agnes Lira Hundos pa to ang PIO ya.
Damo nga kinahanglan sa
Sus, may mga transaksyon na to. Dito na, nag-purchase na tasang Pilisa dam sites.
nga ipakao.
Baw dito naman kag nagatubo naman ang kwan ko, naginit naman ang ulo ko kay may conversion.
Nga galala na
Ang pagbayad sang landowner,
sa bakulod
ang declaration sang landowner nga ginbakla naton, agricultural land,
ang imo nga ginpas
pero gintwist
bung nagat
sang assessor officer.
tiniran bisan gamay lang
Instead sang agricultural land, ginhimo nga residential, kundi mahal ang ginbakal sang syudad.
samtang nagapungko ang kwarta
Kay kung agricultural land, lain-lain ang rate ya.
para simong corona.
Tubo mo kung mga utan-utan dahil, ti barato na ya. Pero maneuver pag nila, ti dito nagasugod naman.
Sa kagaw
Hasta nga nadihon ang Hellmark Construction.
tama sang sitwasyon
Dito na,
kadamo nagutom kadamo pa
naginamatamat na.
wala na nga sakit
Tinagantad na ko.
rason kag astaya subong di
Hasta nga waay na ko nagsaka-saka sa City Hall.
makat sang gobyerno
Hasta sang 2007.
gusyo
Dito na.
halin apang silap
Daw nagkuha na bilang buot ko kay kabati na ko to. Dito na iskandalo kay man may eleksyon na.
kwanta samtang
Dito ko nabalaan nga Maria Josep Santissima ang kalag ni Francisco Badurga Gagawad pa si Dula.
Nagakurap na
Grabe nga mga diskarte ang ila. Dito ko na matamat o sisa
lala
nga ang ghost gali nga GO. Ining GO, dira gali ang source ang sindikato gid. Mga ngalan lang gali pero way personalidad.
Oh yeah. Hahaha. Buaya sang danwa.
396 dako na bayad ang pagpiki nga document. Okay. Gali.
Samtang nagasinat
Grabe no.
syudad
Sa mga vlogger dako gali bayad ni.
niya kung diin na
Grabe no.
palipayon. Proud nga bakulod
Ala sige.
tawag sa amon. Halos
Hindi na lang padayunon tan lang na buwas pero may ari daw may papas pagido.
gusto daw
So,
hindi
hindi
pa
ako pabuyan
masaliga.
ba?
Wala gid
Grabe no. Abilidaran gid gali si Bingkay. Bay ida siya rondaria. Hindi yaman na madala sa madala.
kinahanglan
Sapya ko roning nga kinabuhi ang buot yung balon.
kita matam
018.
samtang gapanghatan
Mara pagid 273 daw lain na ni. Good PM sa Ray, pamati lang kami di sa Granada. Shirley ni. Share.
tinad wala
Baw ginatando ko gida ang tagipusoon ni Kwan Konsyal Dindo Ramos.
imubulig dinilog
Ano abi kung 326 kamo kabilog?
na lang
Tipon kamo bala, paupod kamo kay Kapitan Talimudaw. Masyarin nyo blang balay ni Dindo Ramos.
wala ka nakita
Pangabayon siya, konsyal maton, buligi kami, interbinihin ni Abi, ay patawag Abi si Glenn niyo nga taga DSWD, kaya nga amon nga SAP, second trans, wala pasta subong, nakaan-end na kami sa ginkwayan ng lista sang payroll namon, mga ngalan namon, ngaway kami kabaton.
yung tasubong
Tipon kamo, 326. Isa kamo da, bitbitan nyo sa Talimudaw, kagkantuan ng balay ni Dindo Ramos.
di main
Dasun pa ko da, kamo, kung ano ang kwan, kung ano nga balyada, itipon nyo sa cellphone nyo para mabalanta.
sin nga kuno
Talungunta kung hindi siya magkwan, kung mamalibad siya, waay siya pulos nga klase konsyal.
tangan nagad
Nga apilion nyo pa da siya kay iway sa gani ga ulikid sinyo da.
lagana gobyerno
Dapat nga magatag na siya concern sa musina.
sa bakulod
Imbestigahon niya lang, patawag yaman lang na si Kwan, request mo lang siya. Imo mo lang sa resolusyon. Request nga pati nun ina si Glenna
bakulod ya kurap nga
o sino na si Ryan. Para matagan nga balaan kung ginano yung kwarta nga hasta subong way pagyapon si Contrans. Di ba?
ayas
Tipon ka mo abi, gagabit-bitan nyo si Kwan. 326 ka mo kabilog. Natipon ka mo.
amo na
Kadto ka mo da sa kay Kapitan Talimudaw. Ling mo kadto ta, update kami kap.
agad
Kadto kami sa kay Konsehal Dindo Ramos, Mangayo kami bulig. Nga makapasar sa isang resolusyon.
amon
Agod nga mapatawag ni si Ryan
hapon kay
Sino na nga Ryan?
tanwa kwarta
Di ba?
ang ingulos sa pwesto daw hindi pa masal
Nga mo lang na matugda ko, natatay mo.
lagid may natuman
Sige, buwas naman ta.
mismo na
Pero si Dr. Kiano gali,
dala
isa ka professor sa isa ka medical institute, ano to? Sige lang.
is ngayon
Buwas, budlay na mag-scan tao, time na ta.
gobyerno
Wait na panahon mga
na
kabiyanan.
maagwan
Sa gihapon, ginaupdan kita sa aton chief engineer,
ipatin
Glaze Takang,
gobyerno sa
upod sa kay Pretty Boy,
damo nga piga
Nonong de los Reyes, Engineer Nonong de los Reyes,
o ang
Tokayo ko, Engineer Riikang,
kung nagat
subong man ang aton nga Master Sergeant,
tiniran
Noni Saldavea, kubos ninyo nga alagad, ALEJANDRINO, mayong gabi sa inyo tanan. Buwas to naman, bye-bye!
presensya samtang nagapungko ang kwarta ara si Mubulsa
Francisco, 49 years old, taga Tugigaraw. Kadalasan kasi puro lang ako sa tapat ng computer. So, kukunti lang yung tulog. So, yung stress sa mata talagang napakahirap. Talagang kawawa ang mata. Laking tulong ng Iberry. Mula nung nag-Iberry ako, halos wala nang gamit yung salamin. Kaya, salamat talaga Iberry. 6 na oras, wala akong salamin. Diretso ako sa computer.
Ang iBerry ay mabibili sa Mercury Drug at sa mga suking butika sa inyong lugar.
Mahalagang paalala, ang iBerry ay hindi gamot at hindi dapat gamiting panggamot sa anumang uri ng sakit.
DYKB Radio. You've heard it all. Don't smoke, drink in moderation, eat healthy, and exercise regularly. But did you know that stress can also take a huge toll on your immune system? Mindfulness is about being present and noticing what's happening in your mind and body. Here's one way to do it. First, pause and focus on your body. Notice what you see, hear, taste, and smell. Next, focus your attention on what you feel on each part of your body. Start with your head, then move down to your toes. And lastly, acknowledge your thoughts and emotions. The key here is not to judge your feelings as good or bad, and to just accept them as they are.
This is News Night, where we go above and beyond the headlines. I'm Pia Ontiveros. Tonight on the program, despite a slight rollback in pump prices in recent weeks, the government begins distributing fuel subsidy for thousands of jeepney drivers and operators. But the subsidy does not cover bus, taxi, and UV express drivers. Could there be changes in the presidential race soon? The administration's standard bearer, Senator Bongo, says he's not ruling out the possibility of backing down. And human rights activist and staunch Duterte critic sets his eyes on the second highest post in the country. Get up close with former lawmaker Walden Bello live. ₱1 billion pesos for thousands of jeepney drivers and operators. The government begins distributing cash subsidy to help tide them over amid rising fuel prices and the COVID-19 pandemic. Here's AC Nichols with that story.
With fuel prices going up, jeepney drivers say they are barely making any profit. Transportation officials have eased restrictions to allow for more passengers, but it's not enough.
Dati, okay. Ngayon, pinakamalaki, okay namang mga 400. Wala pa, di pa ba normal yung pasahero? Di pa man namin masapilitan na siksikan, papuno.
The government has allotted ₱1 billion to provide fuel subsidy to around 136,000 jeepney franchise holders. Each beneficiary can receive over 7,000 pesos per jeepney. Some jeepney drivers, however, say their operators take the money, like what happened when a cash grant was released in 2018.
Hindi naman pantawid pasada tawag doon pantawid operator. Hindi naman binibigay sa amin yung mga card namin
Over 70,000 beneficiaries supposedly received the cash grant through their land bank cash cards. As for the others,
antayin niyo po yung abiso ho sa regional offices po natin kung kailan ho kayo pupunta sa designated land bank branch po ninyo.
The financial aid is supposed to be used only for fuel expenses and only for the vehicle with a plate number indicated on the cash card. The LTFRB has partnered with oil companies where drivers can use the cash cards. Transport officials warn beneficiaries not to withdraw the cash or they would receive a show cause order.
Yung iba dyan, kung i-withdraw nila sa mga ATM machines, we have a mechanism for that. We will be requesting Land Bank to provide us a copy of those na nagva-violate dun sa undertaking nila.
Fuel price hikes also affect drivers of buses, taxis, and UV Express. However, they are not yet covered by the fuel subsidy program for now. Transportation officials say the train law specifically says that subsidies shall be given to jeepney drivers. They assure other PUV drivers that they are working on solutions to help them out too. AC Nichols, CNN Philippines.
A lawmaker expects the House of Representatives to approve on final reading before December a bill suspending the fuel excise tax for 6 months. Quezon City Representative Jesus Bong says the House is bent on approving the measure even if pump prices have gone down in recent weeks. Earlier this month, the House Ways and Means Committee approved a substitute measure reducing excise taxes on diesel, kerosene, and liquefied petroleum gas to zero over a 6-month period. The bill also seeks to temporarily lower the excise tax on low-octane gasoline from 10 pesos to 4 pesos and 35 centavos.
On the part of the House of Representatives, I am sure mapapasa namin yan before December. yung ano lang on the part of the Senate. Pero I'm sure yung mga kasamahan natin, mga senador natin would also want to give it as a Christmas gift to the Filipino people. Itong hinihingi natin is just a short reprieve. Actually, dun sa panukala nga aming inihain, we were just asking for 6 months. And willing pa kami maglagay ng ano doon, ng kulatilya, a section na pagka umabot ito ng bumaba sa $65 per barrel, ibabalik na ulit yung additional na excise tax na ipinataw.
At the Senate, Senator Grace Poe also filed earlier this month a bill that seeks the automatic suspension of excise taxes on regular gasoline, unleaded premium gasoline, and diesel. Now, amid the absence of a law requiring vaccination, President Duterte maintains employers have the right not to hire those who have not received COVID-19 shots. Mr. Duterte says this is not discrimination, but a move to protect the workforce. Meantime, the Labor Department says the policy requiring on-site workers to be inoculated will be implemented starting December 1st. Our Tristan Odalo tells us what options are left for the unvaccinated.
Kung ikaw gusto ng trabaho, tapos ayaw mong magpabakuna, hindi obligado ang employer na tanggapin ka.
President Rodrigo Duterte maintains his stand that employers are free to decide on whether or not they will hire unvaccinated workers. In a speech on Tuesday night, Mr. Duterte says the no vaccine, no hire policy is not discriminatory. He adds some unvaccinated people may invoke religious rights for their refusal to get inoculated.
So, ang rason dyan is hindi ako discriminate. Kung hindi, binoprotektahan ko yung negosyo ko.
Meantime, the Labor Department says the implementation of the IATF policy requiring vaccinated workers for on-site jobs on December 1st is a go. No additional guidelines will be issued since the 2 previous IATF resolutions define the policies for vaccinated workers. Under IATF Resolutions 148 and 149, unvaccinated workers must undergo regular RT-PCR tests at their own expense. It should be done once every 2 weeks. Partially vaccinated workers no longer need to undergo testing, but they must receive their second dose as scheduled.
This is the first time naman po, remember, yung advisory ng DOLE, the highly encouraged, is still there. And in fact, the law naman says it's not mandatory. That's why what we're saying here is you do have an option if you don't like to be, kaya yung mandate na yan is not, kasi kung ayaw nyo ho, yun nga, pwede naman mo kayo magpa-test regularly.
Labor Group Mayo Uno slams the IATF policy requiring vaccinated workers for on-site jobs. The group says the government has yet to fix its rollout of vaccines, so why pass the burden to employees? The Labor Department offers options for unvaccinated workers.
Pwede ho siya mag-work from home. Pero kung wala na po at kailangan talagang on-site, pwede naman siya mag-work, di ba ho? Magpa-testing lang. Kung may leaves siya, it will apply. Kung wala na, we will have to go through the no work, no pay.
Tristan Odalo, CNN Philippines.
President Duterte, in an executive order, says government and private employees who will receive COVID-19 shots during the 3-day national vaccination event on November 29 to December 1st will not be marked as absent if they present proof of inoculation. Telecom firms, banks, and e-commerce platforms are not leaving things to chance. They're sitting down with government agencies today to address the recent spamming activities targeting job hunters. Initial investigations trace the text messages from crime syndicates abroad. Globe says it has already filtered 1 billion messages with malicious content.
Most of these campaigns really do come from global syndicates. We've updated the filters. Hopefully, Globe customers will feel today that they should not see some of these messages anymore. We've tweaked it. I'm sure the scammers will update the contents of the messages, but then we'll just have to tweak it again and hopefully arrest it. Some of the sources that we have seen, again, we've tried to block them, but then again, they keep on hopping around, right? So it will be cat and mouse.
Telcos also say they will send an advisory against these text scams to their subscribers. For its part, Lazada is reminding customers to only transact through its official website and app and communicate only with its legitimate marketplace sellers. The e-commerce giant says it will never ask for personal account details via text or social media. Yet another cyber attack, this time against an upscale retail chain. SNR said a data breach may have compromised some membership information, such as contact details. But the company added that its members' credit card and other financial information are safe and secure. The National Privacy Commission says it received SNR's report last November 15th, a day after the cyber attack. The company made the incident public only this morning. SNR said it immediately carried out cyber security protocols. Up ahead, one senator reveals formerly executives Mohit and Twinkle Dargani spent nearly 2 million pesos for their aborted chartered flight to Kuala Lumpur. And President Duterte says the country is, quote, slowly but surely beating COVID-19. Details next on Newsnight.
Love is all about time. Di minamadali ang pagpapasarap. Like the love in every Pure Foods ready to eat. Slow cooked and ready in 8 minutes. Para may time ka sa mga mahal mo. Because love takes time.
Kabilang ba kayo sa mga Pilipino na nahihirapan sa mga transaksyon dahil wala o kulang ang mga valid IDs?
Huwag nang mag-alala dahil narito na po ang PhilSys, ang identification system ng bawat Pilipino.
Para sa Step 1 registration, pumunta lang sa register.philsys.gov.ph para makapag-register sa PhilSys online. Ito ang PhilSys, ID natin to.
Discovery Plus is here. Welcome to your new home of larger-than-life entertainment and unforgettable characters. Subscribe now at 129 pesos per month.
Sa pagbangon ng mga Pilipino, saludo ako sa mga taong patuloy na humaharap sa hamon ng pagbabago.
Bilang isang ina, handa akong gawin ang lahat para sa kaligtasan ng aking mga anak.
Pandemya man, tuloy pa rin ang serbisyo para malinis ang kapaligiran. Serbisyong publiko para sa kaligtasan ng lahat.
Sa panahon ng krisis, ikaw, ako, magtulungan tayo. Saludo ako sa Pilipino.
Petron Diesel Max keeps your engine clean and protects it against corrosion, so nothing gets in the way of your engine's power. Petron Diesel Max. Tough outside, clean inside.
This is the Manila Bulletin, traversing time and truth since 1900. The newspaper with a century-long legacy of standing witness to the country's history and development. Today, the Manila Bulletin strives to make the nation be fully informed, and the Manila Bulletin will continue to inform, inspire, empower, telling timely stories and timeless truths through this century and beyond.
Sino nga ba ang masarap kainuman? Di yung magaang kasama. Sunmig Light was introduced in 1999 at just 100 calories. True to its name, this beer was light and less filling, making it magaang sa tiyan para sa mahaba-habang inuman.
So the main difference of Sunmig Light with the other beers is its calorie content. Sunmig Light has lower calories because it has reduced amount of these other components, the residual carbohydrates and proteins.
This pioneering light beer brand built strong affinity among the younger crowd because of how it uses the brand's platform to spark conversations on important social topics during these challenging times. Whether it's the pandemic or another full day at work stressing you out, grab a Sunmig Light to unwind and reset over an inuman with friends.
Welcome back to Newsnight. Senator Risa Ontiveros reveals the chartered flight that was supposed to take formerly executives Mohit and Twinkle Dargani out of the country last week cost nearly 2 million pesos. Ontiveros presented a confidential contract obtained from a source from two Singaporean companies, the rental firm Seletar Jet Charter and its client Air Charter Service. It shows a quotation of $37,000 or around 1.85 million pesos for a private flight from Davao City to Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia on November 14th. The senator wants to know how they managed to almost flee the country despite an immigration lookout bulletin order against them. The Darganis are detained in the Senate for refusing to submit documents subpoenaed by lawmakers. Tax experts tapped by the Right to Know, Right Now coalition say Farmally owes the government over 5 billion pesos in taxes for 2020. Ontiveros believes the Dargani siblings may not have been paying the right taxes. The next Senate Blue Ribbon Committee hearing is set for Friday. Almost 2 years into the pandemic, President Duterte says the country is steadily making progress in the fight against COVID-19.
We are slowly but surely making progress in our COVID-19 campaign. Second, I am very pleased to inform the entire nation that we continue to beat COVID-19. Recent statistics affirm this.
But the president urges the public to stay vigilant and continue to observe safety protocols. This afternoon, the health department reported 890 new COVID-19 cases, the second time this week that infections were below 1,000. Total cases are now more than 2.8 million, with 2.76 million recoveries and over 47,600 deaths. The Philippines receives a new shipment of 700,000 doses of the AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine. The shots, which were donated by Australia, arrived in the country this morning. The delivery is part of the 3.6 million vaccines that Australia is donating to the Philippines. Vaccine czar Carlito Galvez says the 700,000 jabs will be rolled out in the country's nationwide vaccination drive from November 29 to December 1st. Meanwhile, as the world rolls out vaccines and booster shots against COVID-19, AstraZeneca's CEO reminds everyone face masks are still important.
I think it is important people don't give up the masks too quickly. So, of course, we can't spend our entire life with masks on, but we should get into the habit of wearing them where necessary and not elsewhere. But vaccinations are really the first line of defense.
Amid a spike in COVID-19 cases in Germany, employees going to work will now be required to present proof of COVID-19 vaccination or negative test results, that or risk not getting paid. Under the country's new infection protection law, employers can legally stop paying workers who refuse to present their status, as well as bar them from entering the workplace. But companies must offer at least 2 free tests a week for their employees. They should also allow people to work from home as much as possible. This comes as the European nation doubles down on COVID-19 curbs and restrictions on the unvaccinated. The United States set to release millions of barrels of oil from national reserves in a bid to ease high gas prices. As CNN's Isabel Rosales tells us, other nations such as China and India are joining the effort.
Mounting pressure to lower rising gas prices.
I think they're ridiculous. They keep going up and there seems to be no end to it.
President Joe Biden now giving the okay to lift the lid on an emergency stockpile of oil.
While our combined actions will not solve the problem of high gas prices overnight, it will make a difference.
In the thick of the busy holiday travel season, the White House says the Department of Energy will release 50 million barrels of oil from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve.
That's the amount that we think would be useful to help middle-class consumers get through this period of elevated prices.
China, India, Japan, South Korea, and the United Kingdom will conduct a coordinated release along with the U.S. Americans paying on average $3.40 per gallon, according to AAA. It's aggravating the biggest inflation spike in decades.
750,000 people in Kentucky depend on natural gas or propane to heat their homes. It's a choice, in some cases, between putting food on the table and staying warm.
But it will take weeks before barrels hit the market. While the president was privately advised that tapping into the reserve wouldn't do much to alleviate the current problems, some lawmakers argue it's a start.
I don't think it can hurt.
The move may be largely symbolic, showing nations reluctant to ramp up oil production the U.S. is serious about taking action. In Washington, Isabel Rosales.
Still ahead on Newsnight, presidential aspirant Isko Moreno will submit himself to a drug test, but for fellow hopeful Lenny Robredo, tests should be conducted at random. And we get up close to the vice presidential aspirant who pledges to fight disinformation and protect media workers. Walton Bello joins us live when we return.
Sang-ayon ba ang lahat na ang best tasting chicken daw kay TJ din? Walang duda na ang tender, ang juicy, best tasting chicken hotdog talaga. Chicken ang desisyon. Kids can tell, best tasting ang TJ chicken dog. Listo at ganado ang baby ko sa vet-approved Nutri-Chunks with active boost and prebiotics na pampalisto. Made with real meat, with essential nutrients to help them grow healthy and happy. Listo, ganado sa Nutri-Chunks.
Bawat patak, may sarap, may lakas, sulit. Red Horse Beer.
Boracay has put the country on the map for domestic and international tourism. It is only fitting that the gateway to this paradise island is modern and state-of-the-art. SMC Infrastructure has taken the lead in overseeing the improvements of the Boracay Airport. Throughout the years, it carried several name changes, from Caticlan Airport to Godofredo P. Ramos Airport. But it lagged behind in upgrades until SMC Infrastructure stepped in. Now the current and long-term developments include the construction of an international airport passenger terminal. SMC Infrastructure also extended the existing runway to better serve bigger aircrafts. From 950 meters, it now stretches up to 2,100 meters long, keeping passengers happy and satisfied as they escape into the relaxing beaches and waters of Boracay.
Namamasko po!
This Christmas, we may not be celebrating the way we used to because of the ongoing pandemic. But there is still a lot to be grateful for. And definitely a lot of ways we can share the Christmas spirit with others.
Ngayong Pasko, bukod sa paghahanda natin ng salo-salo sa sarili nating tahanan, samahan niyo po kami ni Isa na mag-sponsor ng iba pang pamilya para sa kanilang Pure Foods Noche Buena. Mula sa halagang 800 pesos, maaari na tayong magbahagi ng Pure Foods Fiesta Ham, Tender Juicy Hotdog, TJ Spaghetti Sauce.
Your new favorite viands are also now made ready to eat by Pure Foods. Crispy fried chicken, caldereta, kare-kare, and many more. Your Noche Buena can be ready in as little as 15 minutes.
Wow!
Bilis!
Isang kompleto at masayang pagdiriwang ng Noche Buena ang naghihintay para sa inyo at para sa pamilyang reregaluhan ninyo ng Pure Foods Noche Buena Pack.
Ito ay mahahanap sa San Miguel Foods website. Magtungo sa thehub.sanmiguel.com.ph. Let us continue the spirit of Christmas giving so more of us can celebrate the season.
Sama-sama po tayong magdiwang ng Pasko! Buo ang Pasko sa Paskong Pure Foods!
Welcome back to CNN Philippines. Senator Bongo's presidential bid may not be set in stone. In an interview, the administration's presidential bid admits he is still in a state of shock. Go explains he was all set to run for vice president in next year's elections, but had to step up on orders of his party, PDP Laban.
Sumasagi sa isip mo yun, sir, to just withdraw?
I'm not saying na ganun po, pero nag-aantay lang po ako ng sign sa ating Panginoon.
Thank you, sir.
Para bigyan po ako ng lakas. I'm hurting po, sa totoo lang. nasasaktan po ako sa sitwasyon sa ngayon. So, yun po ang aking nararamdaman. Kung kailangan ko pong magsakripisyo para sa Pilipino, kailangan ko pong magsakripisyo kay Pangulong Duterte at sa pamilya. Gagawin ko po. Kasi wala naman po ako ambisyon na maging Pangulo.
President Duterte is endorsing Bongo as his successor. Some lawmakers also say the president wants them to vote for his daughter, Sara Duterte, as the next vice president. Sara, however, is running with former Senator Bongbong Marcos. Now, while possible changes in the 2022 presidential race remain to be seen, an expert points out no candidate anointed by the sitting president is assured of victory in the polls. Veteran campaign manager Ronnie Puno says this was proven when former President Fidel Ramos endorsed then Speaker Joe De Venecia in 1998. It was the same thing for ex-President Gloria Arroyo, who backed Gilbert Teodoro in 2010, and the late former President Noynoy Aquino, who supported Ma Rojas in 2016. Puno says this is because Filipinos usually seek change during elections. For political strategist Malu Tikia, Go or Bongo may have the same fate as those endorsed by the former presidents. She says the senator, who only came into the political scene when Mr. Duterte became president in 2016, needs to, quote, stand on his own. Tikia adds the tandem of Senator Ping Lacson and Senate President Tito Soto may emerge as the dark horse.
It's not easy as just because you're the aide, everyone will follow the president. Yes, we have a very popular president, but it takes more than just being around and being active in the arena. You know, if you're going to look at tandems, the tandem of Lacson and Soto have all the experience, combined experience. When you pit them against Senator Go, medyo mahihirapan yun. And then there is no vice president. It's a very ludicrous situation.
Catch the replay of my interview with Ronnie Puno and Malu Tikia on Politics as Usual this Sunday, 7 in the evening, only here on CNN Philippines. Presidential aspirant and Manila Mayor Isko Moreno is set to undergo drug testing at the Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency headquarters in Quezon City tomorrow morning. He says he's open to taking any type of drug test, assuring the public he is not into drugs. Moreno will be joined by his running mate, Dr. Willie Ong, and his senatorial bets, Jopet Sison, Carl Balita, and Samira Gutok. Moreno earlier wrote to PIDEA asking the agency to immediately test him for the use of cocaine, shabu, marijuana, and all other illegal substances. Vice President Leni Robredo Miwa says she would rather take a random and unannounced drug test. Robredo made the statement while her fellow aspirants were announcing their drug test results. She says surprise tests would be better to reveal a, quote, real situation. Robredo adds it is self-serving to submit herself to a drug test, but that she is ready to do it anytime. Calls for hopefuls to take drug tests stem from President Duterte's allegations that one of them is using cocaine. Among those who have publicized their drug test results were presidential aspirants Bongbong Marcos, Senators Manny Pacquiao and Ping Lacson, and Vice Presidential aspirant and Senate President Tito Soto. Meanwhile, Vice Presidential aspirant and Davao City Mayor Sara Duterte says she took the tests, which all turned out negative, following the request of her running mate, Bongbong Marcos. Mayor Sara adds this is to show their, quote, common stance against illegal drugs and to support the call for transparency among aspiring public officials. A former lawmaker and human rights activist vows to defend press freedom as he throws his hat into the 2022 race. On Twitter, vice presidential aspirant Walden Bello, the running mate of labor leader Leoty de Guzman, said they will implement measures to stop attacks against journalists if the tandem succeeds in their election bids. Bello adds they will shut down troll farms and move to restore the franchise of embattled media giant ABS-CBN. The aspirant also remembered the Maguindanao massacre 12 years ago and pledged to seek justice for the victims. 58 people were killed in the incident, including more than 30 media workers. We now have with us for Up Close, Vice Presidential Aspirant Walden Bello. Good evening, sir. Thank you very much for joining us. Very quickly now, let's go through these promises you made about protecting media workers and journalists. Go ahead, sir.
Let me just say that the role of the media is extremely important. We do have a number of major proposals to protect journalists. I would say that we do need a special prosecutorial team that would be just focused on investigating and making sure that justice is done when it comes to the killings or the hurting or the threatening of journalists. That I think is extremely important. We did say that yes, we are going to push for the restoration of the ABS-CBN franchise, and we will dismiss all charges that have been made up by the Duterte administration against Maria Ressa and Rappler. Pia, the problem really is not just random violations by politicians. It is really the mood of being anti-free press that encourages these kinds of violations below. And Malacanang under President Duterte has been so anti-free press, that it's almost like a license to people that would like to destroy the freedom of the press because their interests are being affected, by local and national journalists. Yeah. So we really need to get this atmosphere of intimidation that is represented by Duterte. That is number one. That has to be removed.
Let's be very specific. When you say that, number one, you're going to move to restore ABS-CBN's franchise and dismiss all these cases against Rappler's Maria Ressa, how exactly are you going to do that? Because, of course, franchise is the responsibility, hawak yan ng House of Representatives. So, President Leody de Guzman would order or coax congressmen to give ABS-CBN its franchise, and then for the cases against Maria Ressa et al., you're going to order the judge to rule to dismiss the cases or to say that Maria Ressa is not guilty. Ganun po ba?
Yeah, on the second, on Maria Ressa, you remember it is the executive that has launched these charges against Maria Ressa. Okay,
wasn't it the private citizen? It was a private citizen who filed the cases.
Yes, but it is backed by the executive. Okay, and I think that once you have a different administration, that basically says it is not going to support, the prosecution of these charges against Maria Ressa. I think that will make all the difference. Alam mo naman, nagbibiro tayo eh. Hindi naman yung private citizen na yun is really the one. He's being pushed by Malacanang. That's it. Wag na tayong magbiroan. That's Duterte's ploy. And if we but to go to the second point, yes, Congress will have to take a role in terms of restoring the franchise. But we all know naman, that the reason that those members of Congress voted, to take away the franchise against
is because the president spoke out against ABS. Yes. Okay.
Was because of Malacanang's pressure.
Well, of course. Yes. Well, sir. Yes. Actually, this private citizen you referred to has already said before that he has done this on his own. Anyway, sir, we need to move on to another favorite topic of yours, Bongbong Marcos and the Marcos family. So, first, my question is, President Duterte has gone after Bongbong Marcos, saying he is a weak leader and a spoiled child. syempre, top of mind for all of us kasi is that he's leading the survey. So that's why else would people be attacking him, right, sir? Kasi, diba, papansinin niyo ba siya kung mababa siya sa surveys?
Well, the problem really is, that the Marcos family has, participated, led this effort to try to paint what were the most nightmarish years in our country as a golden era. No? And I think that's, the guy is not running on any platform. It's just on this image. And what we are going to do in this campaign is to expose the fact that he has feet of clay, he has no record, okay? And that all that is being presented is an image that is wrong, that in fact was not the case. He's running on the Marcos legacy of repression and oppression and exploitation. And I think by the time that this campaign is midway, this guy's going to go down in the polls. I mean, Filipinos will appreciate the truth about this fellow. I mean, this is Marcos running again. Is, as I said, this family raped the country for 14 years. They never made any apologies, and this guy wants to rape the country again. Filipinos are not that foolish.
And this is why you want to campaign against them. Because, as some people have said, a Marcos victory at the polls would be like vindication for them, right? And in a sense, these elections are like a referendum, not just on President Duterte, but on EDSA 86, correct?
Well, I mean, I think that's true. It will be a referendum on, to some extent on the inadequacies of what happened of the EDSA government. But I think more important is, that this is really an image of the past, the Marcos era, that is untrue, that is being sold at this point in time. As we said, I and my running mate, Leody de Guzman, are out to, the reason that we're in this process is because we are out to stop the Marcos Duterte axis of evil. And in order to do that, we are presenting a vision for the future that does not bring us back to the dark era of the Marcos period.
Well, sir, yes.
That goes away from the inadequacies of the EDSA period, and of course, away from the bloody reign of Duterte. We are presenting a program, very detailed program for the future, and that's what differentiates us from the other candidates.
Well, part of this effort, like you say, to defeat this axis of evil, as you call it, is to exhume the body of Ferdinand Marcos from the libingan ng Mabayani, where it is currently buried, and return it to Batak. So are you saying that if you and Leody de Guzman were to win, the two of you would personally go to the libingan and oversee the exhumation of the remains and its return to Batak, Ilocos Norte?
Yes, and we will charge the Marcos family for the expenses of the exhumation, as well as, sending it to Batak. But as I said, if Madame Tussauds Wax Museum is interested in this waxen image of Marcos, then we'll sell it to the, Madame Tussauds, and the money goes to, the Philippine government, So as far as we're concerned, let's exhume that body, get it out, get it to Batak, or send it to Madame Tussauds in Hong Kong.
Would they be interested?
I would imagine so. Madame Tussauds would, they take all sorts of images, including waxen images.
Just recently, Bongbong Marcos, through his lawyer, submitted drug test results to PIDEA and the NBI and the PNP. You believe them, of course. Do you?
I would never believe anything submitted by a liar like Marcos. I mean,
Even
this
if it
guy
is-
lied about his university degree, right?
Even if it is supposedly a certification from a renowned hospital, St. Luke's, although we did try to get official word from them.
Well, I would not put anything beyond this family. They could buy St. Luke's for all I care. This is not something that you would take firsthand coming, from Marcos. And as I said, if the COMELEC wants to requires us to do drug testing, Calyode and I will do it, but we're not going to do it to participate in this circus that is mainly out to clean Bongbong Marcos. No, this is not. And unfortunately, Isko Moreno and Soto, etc., they're all participating in this circus at this point in time, and it's shameless. It's shameful.
Okay, well, Lenny Robredo said she would undergo drug testing, basta random. But anyway, sir, we need to take a very quick break. When we return, we'll still have with us Vice Presidential hopeful Walden Bello, plus nominations out for music's biggest night, and among the frontrunners, 3 Phil-Am artists. Find out who else got nods after the break.
Were in elementary and they would always ask you what your dream job would be like, and I would always just say that I want to be a manager. That was the only thing I would always say. I never really dreamt of being a beauty queen at the time. I'm an industrial engineer by profession. Well, industrial engineering is really known to be a man's job. That alone in itself for me is already an achievement. I proved to myself and to everyone that it can also be a woman's job.
Welcome back. This is our up-close segment with Vice Presidential aspirant Walden Bello. Sir, I think we've talked enough about Bongbong Marcos in the first segment of the show, but so let's move on. There are a few questions here about the government's pandemic response and how you and Calyode de Guzman, if you were to win, would like to handle differently the pandemic, the crisis.
Well, we have a 13-point program, to contain COVID-19. One of the first elements of this is that we want to be able to have 75% of the population have a second dose by September 2022. That is very close, if not on herd immunity. Okay, and we will also want to make sure, that all 50% of seniors have a booster shot by then, and 100% of healthcare workers and 50% of the immunocompromised. Okay. Secondly, we will make sure that we will allocate 250 billion pesos for the budget for FY 2023, which is the fiscal year we will be there, to COVID-19 related medicines and vaccines, as well as treatment. And we will prioritize the purchase of Milsarvir, which is one of the major COVID-19 mitigation medicines. And we will make sure that the first line of defense is preventive measures, And that first line of defense against COVID-19 is in fact in place. So this 13-point program is very much all linked to each other. But Pia, the important thing is that we are able to generate the resources to be able to have an effective program. And we are going to do that by taxing the rich, making sure that there's hemorrhage of payment of foreign debt is stopped, okay? And making sure, that, all of these allocations for things like the NTF ECLAC, which is LCAC,
yes.
is reallocated to the health budget and particularly to COVID-19 containment.
Okay.
So we have the measures and we have the proposals to fund them because it is irresponsible to have measures without also presenting proposals to fund them. And that is what you see in our program.
Right. Yeah, well, I'm sure all these big businessmen heard you when you said you taxed them. But anyway, I wish we had more time.
Tax them.
Yeah.
We're talking about $1 trillion pesos to be gained, from taxing the top 250 billionaires in the country. And we're serious about that.
Thank you so much for being with us. I hope we can have you back here again, Vice Presidential Aspirant Walden Bello, sir. Maraming salamat po. And now, before we go, nominated for major categories in the 2022 Grammys are 3 Phil-Am musicians. Pop newcomer Olivia Rodrigo is the first Filipino with nominations for the 4 top categories. With her debut album, Sour, considered for Album of the Year, the 18-year-old is up for a total of 7 Grammys. The prestigious body also recognized previous Song of the Year winner, Her. The singer-songwriter scored 8 nominations with Best R&B Performance among them. And third, the artist is rapper Saweetie, who is of Filipino and Chinese descent, nominated for 2 categories, including Best New Artist alongside Rodrigo. A surprise frontrunner in the list is multi-genre musician John Butties, up for 11 Grammy nominations. And that is it for now. We have 31 more days before Christmas. Join me again on news.ph at 7 p.m. I'm Pia Ontiveros for Newsnight, where we go above and beyond the headlines.
This program is brought to you by
As the country grapples with the highly contagious Delta variant, more children are getting infected with COVID-19. In fact, the number of infected kids aged 9 and below has almost doubled in the past month. How can we keep our children protected from a more aggressive strain? And is COVID-19 vaccinations needed for them right now? On the program today, your guide to keeping your children safe from the COVID-19 Delta variant. I'm Dr. Freddy Gomez, and welcome to MedTalk Health Talk on CNN Philippines. For most of the pandemic, children were at low risk of catching COVID-19, but now they're more vulnerable, especially to the Delta variant, leaving many parents wondering how best is it to keep them safe. Our guests are here today to tell us what we need to know. With us is Dr. Annalyn Reyes. She's a pediatric infectious disease specialist and assistant professor from the UST Faculty of Medicine and Surgery. Also with us is Dr. Anjanette De Leon. She's a department manager of the Pediatric Pulmonary and Critical Care Medicine of the Lung Center of the Philippines. Now, we understand that the increase in COVID-19 cases among children can be very alarming for parents. I'll start first with Dr. Anjanette. I'd like for you to share with our viewers how the new strain, the Delta variant, is impacting children.
You know what? It's just like any other virus. And right now, wherein there's an increasing number of patients or cases of pediatric COVID cases in the country. Hindi siya gaya ng dati na pa isa-isa meron kaming kaso ng COVID, but more or less ngayon sa isang araw meron tayong nakukuha. Pero hindi siya kagaya ng kakaiba na mas grabe in the sense that a lot of them gets intubated gaya ng mga adult patients natin. But most of them would have mild symptoms, meaning they have cough, colds, fever, parang trangkaso. Minsan nagkakaroon sila ng sakit ng katawan. But there are some, most especially yung mga pasyente na merong mga comorbid conditions kagaya ng asthma, yung mga batang may mga cancer, mga batang may mga sakit sa buto, sakit sa dugo. The complicated patients, they are most at risk of having COVID infections.
Now, I'd like to talk about vaccines. Dr. Yen, let's talk about vaccines and how effective is it against the Delta variant for children?
So data have shown that all the vaccines that are approved by the Philippine FDA and those who are approved by the emergency use authorization are still effective with the Delta variant. So all the vaccines have their effectiveness of around 60 to 95%, and even their effectiveness studies of severe and for those critical cases are more than 95%. So it was noted also in some data that the more the country are vaccinated, the lesser are the incidence of Delta variants.
Pag-usapan naman natin yung mga breakthrough infections. How does this COVID-19 vaccine actually protect you? And bakit nagkakaroon pa rin ng mga breakthrough infections yung mga fully protected ng COVID vaccine?
In our hospital, we also check the number of patients who are vaccinated, and whenever the patient is admitted due to COVID, we have to recheck if the patient is vaccinated or not. So in most of our patients, those who went into critical and severe stages, they are not vaccinated. But some patients who are in the asymptomatic and mild cases, they are vaccinated.
We want to emphasize that the COVID-19 vaccine is our best protection against the Delta variant. But while our children remain unvaccinated, there are steps that we can take to minimize the risk of bringing home the virus to them. Dr. Anjanette, worth reminding everyone how we can stay healthy during this very uncertain time.
The best thing that we can do is to keep ourselves informed. We have to be made aware of what the illness is all about. Minsan yun ang problema sa ngayon, kulang sa impormasyon ang mga tao, kaya natatakot sila magpabakuna, natatakot sila magpatingin, natatakot sila dahil hindi nila alam kung anong mangyayari sa kanila. So one thing that one can do is to, the usual is to keep ourselves clean, model a good behavior to our children and to people around. Ibig sabihin, maghugas tayo ng kamay, diba, we wash our hands for at least 20 seconds. Parati nating naririnig to do social distancing. So that's when you raise your hands up high, ito po yung 2 metro. So that's the distance that the child should be having so that more or less they are protected. And then it's very important also that they should model good behavior. Ibig sabihin, pagpasok sa bahay, bago halikan, yakapin ang ating mga anak, maliligo muna ang isang tao para at least kahit paano kung merong mikrobyo na nasa ating katawan, we are assured that this is removed from us when we take a bath, we wash ourselves with soap and water. And as much as possible, importante rin that we should encourage our children on the right way of wearing the mask.
Kaya a reminder to the parents, don't forget to care for your own well-being so we can best care for our children when we take care of ourselves too. Now, COVID-19 vaccines are our shot of hope to end the pandemic, but which ones are safe for children? We have the answers after a short break, so stay with us here on MedTalk Health Talk. You're watching CNN Philippines. The country continues to see a rise in COVID-19 cases, even among children. Today, we want to provide honest and clear information on how the new, more aggressive Delta variant can impact them. I'm Dr. Freddy Gomez, and welcome back to MedTalk Health Talk, your partner in healthcare. Now, while more Filipino children are getting infected with COVID-19, these children typically display mild to no symptoms at all. Dr. Anjanette, walk us through some of the warning signs ng COVID-19 in children.
The child would usually have fever, cough, colds, parang trangkaso. Sumasakit yung katawan, minsan sumasakit yung tiyan, and then some of them would present as rashes. So it's the usual flu-like symptoms that we see left and right. But it's important, what is important is we check the exposure. Ibig sabihin, baka na-expose to sa isang taong may COVID or somebody else who is sick. So this is the turning point for us to see and check if this is really COVID that the child has.
There are reports that the Delta variant presents a little bit different for children as well as adolescents. Dr. Yen, can we discuss this a bit? Merong bang mga bukod-tanging simptomas na pinapakita mga bata kapag infected with COVID-19, especially the Delta variant?
Since December 2019, the COVID virus evolved rapidly and they change as they spread, multiply, and they mutate. So we already have a lot of variants in the Philippines. We have this Alpha variant, the Beta variant, the Gamma, the Delta, then the PH3 variants. So they said that the studies have shown that the Delta is more transmissible and more contagious. And there are also a lot of studies that were presented wherein the Delta variant presents more with colds and headache. However, in the Philippines, in most of our children, the presenting manifestations still manifest with fever, colds, and cough.
How often does COVID-19 infection lead to severe illness in children?
Yeah, it's really true. Especially now, we already have a lot of COVID cases in children. So before, we only have around, in my personal case, I only have around 1 to 2 cases per month, but now I have 4 to 5 cases per day. Some are in home care and some are hospitalized. So those children which are hospitalized and who goes to severe and critical cases are those who are asthmatic. So patients who are asthmatic, it's very hard for them to, if they really have the COVID, they go to cytokine storm. So my patients also with cerebral palsy, those who had leukemia, they also went to severe cases. So all those children with comorbidities, with asthma, leukemia, kidney diseases, those with other immunocompromised conditions, they usually go to severe cases.
Is being vaccinated, fully vaccinated, a big help in protecting their children?
So because studies have shown that the vaccination can really protect countries. So in countries where there is high vaccination rate, Delta variants are also decreased. So in the Philippines, they already approved, the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration, already approved the vaccination for children for 12 years and above. However, we are still waiting for the final approval, and we still have to vaccinate those persons who are at risk, like the elderly, the healthcare workers, because some healthcare workers are not yet vaccinated. So if time will come that we can already vaccinate the healthcare workers and the elderly and those who have complications, it would be best that the children will be vaccinated. So there are also a lot of ongoing studies wherein the vaccines are already tested to children 5 to 11 years old, and the preliminary reports are good, and then they also check the children for 6 months up to 2 years old, and they also have good preliminary results. So we'll just wait for it, and I really hope that if we have allocation of resources and if the persons who really need to be vaccinated first are already okay, we can also vaccinate our children.
Para dun sa may mga anak na 12 to 15 years old, would you advise them to seek and get their children vaccinated?
In the Philippines, the only vaccine that is approved by our FDA, but it is not yet in the rollout, but it is already approved by FDA, is the Pfizer vaccine. So it is approved to be given to 12 to 18 years old. However, in the Philippines, the vaccination is care of the government, so we still cannot buy the vaccine.
For now, though, we want to repeat that the best thing that we can do to protect our children is to get vaccinated ourselves. Vaccines are effective at preventing the spread of COVID-19, and they continue to work against all variants. So if you're eligible, please get vaccinated as soon as possible. Now, another effective way to protect our children is to always follow minimum health standards. Dr. Anjanette, it's worth reviewing these safety protocols para sa ating mga viewers. Let's discuss this.
We advise them to wash your hands. So be a good example to your children. Wash your hands for at least 20 seconds and then do social distancing. And then as much as possible, avoid touching the face, especially the eyes, the nose, and the mouth. And then, of course, wear masks, protecting the nose and the mouth. It should be covered. And keep your house clean. Importante yung mga disinfectants around, cleaning it with soap and water, the surfaces, because these are areas that could wherein the virus can linger.
Dr. Anjanette, pag-usapan naman natin ang flu vaccine. Do you recommend this be given to children? What's your advice to the parents?
For me, it's very important that we give flu vaccine. Right now, it's the flu season. Most especially, it's raining right now. So we get cases left and right having flu-like illnesses, which is almost like COVID, right? Iba ang COVID, ang initial presentation is cough, colds, and fever. Same thing with flu. It's just cough, colds, and fever. So just to protect ourselves and the people around us, it's very important that we give them flu vaccine. It's available not only in government, but also in private institutions and private individuals.
We want to minimize anything that could harm or make your child's immune system any weaker. So despite the pandemic of COVID-19, marami pang ibang mga germs ang nasa paligid natin, and that's including the flu. So keeping your children healthy is as important as teaching them preventive measures. More on this when we return. We want to be your partner for a lifetime of good health, so stay with us on CNN Philippines. The COVID-19 pandemic has brought a whole new set of challenges for parents, including teaching children to follow health protocols. We've rounded up a list of the safety guidelines for children and how best to explain them to your family. I'm Dr. Freddy Gomez, and this is MedTalk Health Talk, where your health always comes first. Wearing a mask is key in reducing the risk of infection. Here at home, face masks need to be worn by children 2 years and older. But we all know how uncomfortable these face masks can be. Imagine what it's like for your younger children. Dr. Yen, do you have any tips to successfully introduce face masks to children?
Even in my clinic, so the children really don't like to wear masks. So I make it a point that the mother should wear their mask first so that the children can follow. So as mentioned, the mask should cover the nose and the mouth. So at times I give the children masks who has cartoon characters and colors, and they were happy wearing it. So it's also nice that you will buy the masks which are with cartoon characters and with colors, so that the children will be happy to wear it. And then when you show to them that you are wearing masks and the mother is wearing masks, they will also follow you.
Another good tip to follow is having a good relationship with your doctor, with your pediatrician, which is more important now more than ever. Dr. Anjanette, telehealth is available nowadays because of the current situation, but why is there some hesitation from a lot of people to actually connect with their pediatricians through telehealth?
Some of the patients or some of the parents doesn't have access to internet. So an option that we can give them is to use the telephone just to call them, or maybe go to the nearest health centers or nearest private physician or hospitals wherein they can do access or get access to health care. Another thing is, if we have internet, there are different platforms, medical platforms, that the doctors can use and the doctors use nowadays to access their patients.
Apart from wearing masks, we also need to teach children positive preventive measures against COVID-19, like social distancing and, of course, always washing their hands. Dr. Anjanette, let's discuss the best way to go about this.
You know what? I've met this acronym, WHEN, W-H-E-N. It's an easy thing to remember. So W stands for washing hands, would equal that of health, wearing mask, do social distancing. E is educating ourselves, educating the people around us of what to do in times of crisis, in times of infection. And N is for nutrition. Giving our children the right nutrition, the right food, so that they will not be able to contract the disease. So that's when.
Now, Dr. Yan, what's your advice to parents who would like to have their regular schedule of vaccines for their child accomplished?
First, I do telemedicine with them. They will message me, and then I will check first the kids if they have cough, fever, and colds, and then I will give them the schedule time. Like, for example, I'll tell them that you'll come at around 10 a.m. So the next child will be at around 10:30. So I make sure that the kids are properly spaced also. The child who is scheduled for 10 o'clock will be vaccinated at 10 o'clock, and then by 10:30 another child will come. So I also space my children every 30 minutes. That's why in all of my patients, they still go for me for vaccination.
But ultimately, we need to talk to our children about COVID-19. They too are experiencing a big change because of this pandemic, and as much as possible, we need to help them feel safe as well as protected. Dr. Yan, can you share with us some tips on how parents can help their children cope with this Delta variant?
Because the children are really so afraid with the pandemic. And the best thing that we really have to do as parents and as doctors is to really educate them. We really have to tell them that, there is really a pandemic. So we can break it to them gently. We have to tell them properly that there is a pandemic, but there is, you might hear that a lot of persons are dying and there might be death among their loved ones. But we can always tell them the good side of things. We can tell them that we can prevent it by wearing the mask properly, and you also have to wear a face shield, especially if you are 2 years old and above. And then after that, as much as possible, kids should stay at home unless they go to their doctors for vaccination.
Thank you, Pediatric Infectious Disease Specialist Dr. Annalyn Reyes and Pediatric Pulmonologist Dr. Antoinette De Leon for guiding us in our topic today. We hope our conversation was very helpful for our viewers. Let's all work together to keep our children safe and protected from the COVID-19 pandemic. I'm Dr. Freddy Gomez, and we'll see you again next time. Stay safe, everyone.
Let's get ready to rumble! DYKB